Dr. Aslam, inshallah, will conduct the lecture. So, Dr. Aslam is going to be with us very soon. And we believe that we will benefit from this important lecture and we'll learn many tools, strategies, and policies, methodologies in writing articles or any research papers. So we thank you very much for joining us today as well. I think Dr. Aslam is going to be with us very soon. Dr. Aslam, are you with us now?
Okay, just a minute, yeah, please.
Okay, sure. I just like to confirm that you are with us.
Yeah.
Because the name is different, Dr. Mohamed.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to change.
Yeah, it's already changed to your email. Yeah. So as you know that Text Islami, Bijamiat al-Kuwait is a platform to promote Sharia compliant finance models, strategies, standards, and the family of Nadal Iqtisad Islami is hosting and organizing various types of activities, programs, and lectures, talks, workshops, and training programs as well. And we cover areas of Islamic banking, Islamic microfinance, Islamic insurance, capital market, equity market, and also we do you have this very important lecture on academic writing, crafting references, and and preventing plagiarism and for Islamic economic students, researchers, and also for other students and researchers as well. It's not only for students and researchers in this field. So let me introduce our doctor, today's speaker, Dr. Mohamed Akbar, who is an assistant professor in Islamic sciences, and he joined the Department of Economics, Kulliyah of Economics and Management Sciences, International Islamic University, Malaysia, in 2019. Prior to that, he obtained his diploma in Sharia, in Arabic language and degree of Alimiya in Sharia sciences from Jamia Uswa al-Hasana in Tamil Nadu, India. And 2002, he went to Deoband, mashallah, and received Fazil Dawra Hadith there, and Ijaz as well, Sanad Faraghat, a graduate degree from Jamia Islamia Darul Ulum Deoband in 2009. And Dr. Aslam studied masters in Usul ad-Din and Comparative Religion from Kulliyah of Islamic Rapid Knowledge and Human Sciences at the Islamic University of Malaysia, as well as PhD in Philosophy, Ethics, and Contemporary Issues specialized in wisdom studies in Quran and Sunnah with particular reference to an unpublished manuscript of Ali al-Muttaqi al-Hindi from the International Institute of Islamic Thought and Civilization, ISTAC, in 2016. And currently he is a researcher and a trainer, a very good speaker as well. So we are very much honored to have Dr. Aslam Akbar to conduct this important lecture on academic writing. So let me welcome Dr. Aslam Akbar to conduct the lecture, please.
Right. My voice is it clear?
Yes.
Dr. Mohamed?
Yeah, clear.
Okay, all right. I'm going to share my screen.
Yes, please, sure.
Alright, Jazakumullah khair. Akramakallah, Dr. Muhyiddin.
Barakallah fiqh, ya Dr.
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. Amma ba'd. All praise to Allah. Blessings and salutations to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions and his family, and to all of us, ibadallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. Peace be upon us. First of all, let me start with thanking, because it is a great pleasure, immense gratitude, to be around this An-Nadi al-Iqtisad al-Islami, Islamic Economic Association. I feel like privileged to take part of this continuous series of talk. Dr. Muhyiddin is a good friend of mine. We know for many years, mashallah, back in Malaysia, Islamic University, Malaysia. So today, what we are going to do, we are going to talk about something to do with academic writing. This is my my background. I used to work in a center called a postgraduate center, and from there I started learning this, and also I was in charge to check few papers, especially the research paper, dissertation, thesis. From there, actually, I learned a lot, and today I'm going to share with you. What we are going to do is actually two things. We are going to learn what is references, and before we learn what is references, it is important to know what exactly the plagiarism. It is good to know the disease before the cure, right? So what kind of difficulties, issues, and problems we are facing, then I think it is good to talk about the remedy. So what I do is actually I bring this discussion today, this evening, this afternoon, into two parts. The first part actually going to talk about the forms and the types of plagiarism. What exactly you need to know the plagiarism, because we need to know this so that we can prevent it, we can avoid it, we can safeguard, protect ourselves. Not everyone actually willing to do this. This is actually something against the moral and ethical manners, right? So as a Muslim, definitely we don't want to do plagiarism. We don't want to simply take somebody's work and put our name. That is not our intention. As a Muslim, it is impossible to have that kind of characteristic. That is what I wanted to clearly tell first, because it is not that we are doing this. What happens sometimes, we don't do that, but accidentally it happens. So when we want to write about something, and when we don't follow a proper method of citation, then it becomes something. It is called a plagiarism. Usually the word itself, it's quite hard word. It's a kind of, what we call great sin, al-ma'siyah al-kubra. So usually we don't use the word plagiarism quite often. What we used to say, we tell a similarity, which means whatever that we write in our paper, whatever the contents that we have in our writing, in our dissertation and academic writing, starting from research, dissertation, thesis, journals, books, or chapter in a book, or a report, or website or web page, whatsoever, whatever that we are having it in our content, it has a similar content in internet. So this is where the terminology called itself a similarity. So these things can be prevented. Is it possible to prevent this similarity, and what are the ways to prevent it? So before we know what are the ways to prevent it, we need to understand what exactly called plagiarism. Is it one definition for plagiarism? Is there any types and forms of plagiarism? So we need to understand every single aspect of this problem, because it has a various formats, various designs within it. So it is important to go through one by one, and at least we understand this is the problem. Then we will learn, inshallah, during this lecture how to prevent those problems in our academic writing. Usually people who actually submit their dissertation or submit their paper, research paper or journal to any institute, definitely before they endorse your publication, they have to go through a system called itself is a plagiarism checking. So many university have a different ways of checking those plagiarism. One of them is actually a website called Turn It In. Most of the universities nowadays, they have access to those to that kind of website, and they will check, and if they see any similarity found in your work, then they will hold your work. They will not let you pass until you go back and justify yourself, or you have to go back and rewrite your paper. Just imagine you are about to submit your PhD thesis. You spend like 4 to 5 or 6 years of your time. Suddenly you have this issue, you encounter this issue before the final submission. And now they are asking you to go back and rewrite everything, which means that you spend a lot of time for this, and suddenly now you need to rewrite it. So you have to spend again another few more months or year. So to prevent it, we need to understand what kind of forms and types of plagiarism is available, and what kind of things that we are going through, so that we can prevent it. And it will be quite helpful if we learn this at the beginning of the stage. Let's say I'm writing my paper. I would like to start writing my paper. So once I finish one chapter or one section, so I just go and start checking this, and I make sure that everything is in order, so that I don't have to even worry about it when I submit. Right? So these are the potential significance of learning this. What are the forms and types of plagiarism? So this will be our first part of the section of the lecture today. The second part of the second part of the lecture, we are going to talk about the tool. It is called referencing, or you can call it citations. So usually we have two types of citations we do in our writing. Number one, we do in-text citation. You can also call it author date citation. For example, you say Ahmed in bracket 2010. So that is whenever you write, you do this, you call it in-text citation. The other one is actually bibliography citation, or you can call it list of references or reference list. So here there are, of course, multiple various styles of referencing. You have APA, you have a Chicago, you have a MLA, right? There are many styles. Mostly in Sharia studies, we use Chicago style because we want to go with this footnote citation, right? So when we write something, we put the footnote number, then at the bottom of the page, we bring the citation. But the other, in Islamic economic research, most probably, because economics, all entire writings in economics, they follow APA or in-text citation method. So when it comes to Islamic economics as well, they also prefer to follow the same. Perhaps for Sharia, we might have a different focus. And then when it comes to Islamic economics, we have a slightly different focus. But both of them focusing on the same thing, but the method of writing is different. So we prefer to follow the in-text citation. So in the second part of the lecture, we are going to talk about the rules and examples. So now you will understand what are the things you need to know how to cite. So at the end of the lecture, I am going to share with you some practical, I mean, some example, illustrated examples of how a writer should actually write from original sources. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples. When someone will do a plagiarism, on what circumstances you will call him he has plagiarized, and on what circumstances you will tell that he is not plagiarizing. So now those examples will, illustrated examples will show you. First column will tell you the original material. The second column will tell you plagiarized version of from that material. The third column will tell you what is the corrected, what is the paraphrased format of that original material. So I think it will be a useful lecture today. Hopefully, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our effort and make us understand more. The first part of the lecture, plagiarism, forms and types, how to prevent. So first of all, we need to know what is plagiarism. Usually, of course, any institute, academic institute, they want to bring this to constitute cheating or lack of academic integrity. So the first thing that you see, it is actually an act. It's not a definition. This is one of the number of the practices deemed by universities. The second thing that you see, it's starting from, this is where actually the definition comes in. Plagiarism specifically is a term used to describe a practice that involves knowingly taking and using another person's work and claiming it directly or indirectly as your own. So you need to concentrate here, the most important keyword, that it involves knowingly. Let's say you do something and you did not know that someone has done the same thing, right? It is not actually called plagiarism. If you know somebody has done it and then you did it, then it will become plagiarism. Whether it is directly or indirectly, whether you claiming it or not. So this is what actually going to become plagiarism. To act of taking any idea or intellectual property expressed in material form, writing, data or invention of another person, claiming that the idea, writing, data or invention are the result of one's own findings or invention, or an attempt to make out way that one is the original source or the invention which has actually been taken from some other source. So if you look at these definition, one thing that you clearly understand that, you know, any form of writing, any form of data, or any form of invention that actually you are taking it from someone, but when you are writing it in your paper, when you do not directly or indirectly, you know, when you do not directly or indirectly refer to someone, but you are referring to yourself, then it becomes plagiarism. Because as a reader, it is all in the eyes of reader. When the reader or the lecturer or the examiner read your paper, or the reviewer read your paper, and he or she understands that this idea comes from you, which means it is actually a kind of plagiarism, because originally speaking, that idea did not come from you, it came from someone, and you forgot to write the name, or you did not write the name, or you did not know how to write or how to cite the name. So at the end result, at the end, it became a plagiarized work, right? That is what actually the definition of this plagiarism. Now you will see that there are a couple of forms of plagiarism. So I'm going to give you a short version, and then I'm going to show you the extended version. The short version is actually copying another person's work. So it is very simple to say copy, Control P to Control V, Control C to Control V, yeah? Copy and paste. Presenting argument, the second form, these are the three forms that I'm discussing with you. These three forms actually most of the time people do. Copy another person's work. Presenting, number two, presenting arguments that use a blend of your own and a significant percentage of copied words, which means I copy a paragraph and I write in my writing, I put in my writing, I only change, you know, the alternative, I only change the alternative words. For example, I go to a word and I right click and I change to synonyms, different synonyms. And then I keep the structure of the sentence as it is. I only change into al-alfaz al-mutaradifa. I change into alternative words. If I do that again, even though I did some patches here and there, but still it is actually considered plagiarism. Number three, it is even, number three, it looks like it is not plagiarism, but it is also plagiarism. Number three, I took something from someone, I took a paragraph from someone, but I completely paraphrased. You see, the first form is actually completely copy paste. The second form is actually copying from copy and paste, but I change some words, alternative words. Those af'al, asma, I will changing it. Number three, I actually copy and paste, but I completely paraphrase the sentence, which means I break the sentence. Let's say if it is a directive, direct, I change into indirect. If it is active voice, I change into passive voice. If it is a simple sentence, I will change into complex sentence, or complex sentence, I change into simple sentence. So I do some magic. I am very good. Let's say I am very good in English proficiency. I'm very good in rewriting things. So I used my ability to change. I changed the completely different sentence. It is the same meaning, but I change into different sentence. But one mistake I did, which is actually I did not write the original author name. I did not refer to the original author. I thought, since I am the one who paraphrased everything, why should I give the reference to someone? Why should I give a credit to someone? So now it is also plagiarized. This is plagiarism. Why it is plagiarism? Because I was only able to change the sentence, al-alfaz, right? I was only trying to change a surah, the outside, al-kharijiyah, but I did not change al-dakhiliyah, al-ma'na. I didn't change the ma'na because the meaning, it is the same. I am taking somebody's meaning. I put my own word. The meaning remains to someone. That's why the third format, the third form of plagiarism is also definitely plagiarism, right? A staff, so later, don't worry, later we are going to see examples for one by one. So inshallah, you will understand more. A staff or a student plagiarizes when he, what are the places, what are the occasions that people plagiarize? When he publish with himself as the author or the co-author, when he forces another person to include his name, sometimes we call it free writing. So we say, please, whatever the name you write, you do your writing, you do your article, but in the list of the name, add my name. And basically, I haven't done anything. I'm just asking as a favor. This is also plagiarism. Extract academic data which are the result of research undertaken by some other persons, or uses research data obtained through collaborative work with some other person. Transcribes the ideas or invention of others kept in whatever form, or translate the writing or invention of another person. This is also happens quite a lot. Most of the time it is quite difficult to identify. I'm talking about the translation. You translate, Arabic very well. So what you do, you translate a content from Arabic into English, and then you publish yourself as it is yours. Perhaps it is difficult to identify, but the experts in the field, one day they will identify. The day that they identify, it's not going to be a good day for us. So we better be careful. Yeah, we cannot do this. Since we translated from someone, doesn't mean that it become our work unless I cite the name, or if it is referring to the common knowledge. Yeah. So that is what the last reason why a staff or student plagiarizes. Procedures. What will happen when, as in an university, what will happen when we know that someone has plagiarized? Upon receipt of complaint of plagiarism in a thesis, the Secretariat of the MEC, DEC, this is the committee name, shall postpone to the commencement of the viva, reporting to the dean, establishing a committee to determine the validity of the complaint, submitting its recommendation to the university committee, final decision by the Senate. Senate of the university will do the final decision. Definitely, this is an act of unethical, immoral. Sometimes it is also illegal, but again, we have to investigate whether it is really a mistake, whether it is really a problem. We have to investigate. So proper investigation needed, required. Then it will be discussed, then it will be endorsed by the Senate. All right, so these are a few survey. I think I took this survey from Indiana University. I think I already put the citation at the end of this slide. So these survey taken from the student. Why a student really want to plagiarize? Because you know what happened. Of course, we are all teaching. We know our students. Sometimes a student they just copy from the senior students. So let's say they are taking this particular subject, they will look for any student who has already taken this subject, and then they just recycle. So why they are doing it? They want to get better grade. They are, of course, because of the laziness. and it is actually easy access, because nowadays the assignment and papers, everything available online, very easy to access. Sometimes not understanding the rule, yes, it is they don't think that it is something wrong. They feel like it is okay to do. Happens unconsciously. Yeah, this is also something important. It became a habit. It became what they call it. It became an habit, routine of life. Doing this kind of thing. They also gave some. Reasons. The students have given the reasons. Why are you plagiarizing? They said we started too late, especially when we ask for assignment to be submitted at the end of the semester. They forgot to do anything at the beginning of the semester, and when it comes the last minute work started too late, could not do the coursework, not thinking wrong. They want to get high marks, no need to learn the material, no keep up with the work, want to get away with it. Sometimes they feel like it is a burden. They just want to get away with it, so they are looking for the shortcut. Felt that the tutor did not care. It is also true, because when you are given 100 to 200 students in your classroom, it is quite difficult for you to monitor the writing. So felt that the tutor did not care. It is also one of the reasons. Thinking that paraphrasing would be disrespectful. It is something funny, but it is also one of the reasons. Because they think, how am I supposed to change the sentence, the one who already said something? Perhaps my English is not so good, my Arabic is not so good. So how am I supposed to paraphrase what some scholars said in this particular field? So they don't want to paraphrase. So these are the reasons given, and the source of this survey that you can get from Dennis 2005. So now let me show you the some examples, some illustrated examples of plagiarism. Yeah, there are 10 types of plagiarism. So these are the types. You have it here. So you can see that these types. You can see these are these types. You can see the educators and students and academics. Usually they found these kind of they found this kind of types, and then they put together, and then they want us to know one by one, right? So the first one is the first one is called clone. It is actually submitting another's work word for word as one's own. So now you can see, look at this picture, try to understand. On top right corner you can see number 1, right? So that means mostly this is what the type of plagiarism people are engaging with. Then you will see the frequency. Out of 10 it is 9.5. It is also problematic. Out of 10 it is 9.5. Then you will see on your left side is the original material. It is the topic is a natural setting, a history of exploration and settlement in Yosemite Valley. Then on your right side you will see unoriginal. Of course, in this particular form of plagiarism, since it is clone, which means it is actually completely is the same thing. With this set of examples, you see that original and unoriginal version. You will see it is completely same exactly. It's like making a duplicate. Number 2 is what we call Control C, also known as copy and paste. Here you can see that not all of the text has been copied, right? Do you see that? If you can zoom in. I don't know, I cannot zoom in this, but if you can concentrate and look into those highlighted words, you won't see all of the text has been copied. Frequency for this type is also high, as well as the problematic score. This is number 2. People usually, most of the people, they do this. Problematic is actually 7.4. You can see some example of changing. The word in original, the word is since. Since has become, on the right side, has become from the time. All right. Look at the left side, you have the word hold. Look at the third line. Even religious hold on the American conscience because. So the word hold here became possession. Yeah. So this is how, there are just 1 or 2 words, but it is a control C, copy paste. Then you have number 3. The number 3, it is called find and replace. It means, it is exactly the same as the original. But what they do, they find a word and then they try to go to this control F. If you are in Word document, Microsoft Word, then you can do this control F and then you can replace the word. Like you see here in the original, it is called non-indigenous people. In unoriginal, it is non-native people, right? So you can see many examples like that. Psyche, mindset, political movements, issues, these are the words has been changed, find and replace. Then you have what we call a remix. A remix is a paper that consists of paraphrasing of content from multiple sources. We call it remix. So now what you see on your right side, untouched, what you see on your right side, which is unoriginal, you can see that those these are the things actually coming from different multiple sources, but it looks like it became together. Usually the frequency is there, 5.6 out of 10, but it is not really very much problematic because it is not that easy to identify this plagiarism, right? But it looks like from one source, but actually speaking, it comes from many sources. It looks like one paragraph. And then recycle. Recycle is the paper that was written for one class. I think I told you earlier, but then reappears for a new assignment in a new class, right? You can look at the title, for example. The title is here is a natural setting. Here become an unnatural expectation. Ecology 201, right? Here you can see a history of exploration and settlement in Yosemite Valley on your left side. On your right side, you will see the impact of exploration and settlement in Yosemite Valley. So now, if you look, it's the same thing. Maybe here are there few small changes, but it is actually plagiarism. It is called recycle. It is a frequency 5.5, problematic 2.8. Then you have a hybrid. It combines perfectly, meaning it combines perfectly cited sources and copied passages. So now you can see here, these are the settings. These are the passages has been combined perfectly, but it comes from multiple sources. But this is actually something. It is actually not to say this is a kind of plagiarism, because this is what actually we actually can do, but with one condition. When we do that, we make sure that actually we put the citation properly. If we do the citation, shouldn't be the problem, right? Like now you can see that it has a different color on your right side. So now the first paragraph comes from one source, the other paragraph comes from another source. the third paragraph coming from another source. I mean, not paragraph, the highlight, the third highlight. But you can also see there is a citation. So now it looks like copied, perfectly combined with combined with multiple sources. But as long as you keep the sources, it is not going to be problematic. Mashup is actually not paraphrasing. This is just the act of copying material from a number of sources. Copying materials, you can see that there are many number of sources. You copy from many number of sources and putting them together to make a paper. In other words, this is exactly not the way to do a research. You cannot do that because you have let's say you want to write a paper and then you gather 10 research paper with you. Suddenly you want to keep, I mean, take something from this, from something from another paper, something from this paper, and then you put together. It looks like what we call it, like, you know, something that we are mixing up. It's not like a mixing for rice or mixing for juice, right? It shouldn't be like that. So, but when we do that, it is frequency is there. You can see 9.1 is also problematic. 404 error is happens. You know, this thing like the title itself says error. It happens when students include false or incomplete citations. So these are the citations. If you see, they are not really complete. Also, they bring any citation. Looks like because sometimes they know that the lecturer, the examiner will not bother himself to go back and check the citation. So they will just write any citation. So this is what actually error. Then the ninth one is actually aggregator, which is actually also mashup, like we mentioned before, mashup, but with proper citation. Last time the mashup one without citation. This aggregator includes proper citation to sources, but the paper contains almost no original work, which means there is, when I write this paper, I don't have anything from me. I always take from someone. So in other words, my paper, it's not mine, it's somebody's. I mean, my paper belongs to a group of people. I only combining. So I'm the compiler, I'm not a writer. The last one, it is actually retweet. This retweet, which includes proper citation, but relies much too closely to the original. Right? So this is what actually the 10 types of 10 forms of plagiarism that we saw just now. Now this is where you have the frequency. You can see those number 9.5 until 9 from 9.5 until 0.5. Similarly, you have a problematic starting from 9.5 until 0.5. So you can actually measure this, yeah. All right, so this is where if you want to read more, I give you these citations. I mean, this link, actually you can go back and read all these from these websites. Okay, we finished the part 1. Now we are moving into part 2. So the second part of the lecture is actually, we learned about plagiarism, the forms of plagiarism. Now we are going to learn the significance of referencing, how referencing is actually going to make your paper different, how this referencing is going to make your paper into academic writing. So how to cite. So we need to understand why referencing is important. Yeah. So why it is important? Because this is an academic rationale for all styles of referencing and the principle of underpinning the practice. We need to also understand when to do the referencing, when it is not necessary to do the referencing, right? Most of the time it is important to do the referencing, but sometimes when we talk about the common knowledge, what we call, we don't have to do the necessary, we don't have to bring the citation. We will talk about it later. Then the third part contains how to do this referencing. There are so many types of styles of referencing. As I said earlier, we have APA, we have MLA, we have Chicago, we have Turabian, so many. But of course, this is not actually a right place for me to illustrate one by one, because usually this kind of thing we will take for the whole day workshop with our student and we teach them one by one. But here, because of the time constraint, we only give you the significance of this. Then inshallah, if you need more, of course, we can have more sessions like this. So now the principle of referencing, of course, why we are doing this, because it is access. It is, of course, it is an intellectual property, because you know that what we call intangible asset. For example, the tangible asset is actually the physical asset. We know about money, we know about house, car, and everything. But are they only asset? Are they only wealth? No, there are also intellectual wealth. We call it intellectual property, right? Al-amwal al-aqliya. So now these are the things. Now when we talk about this intellectual property, usually any property requires address, requires safety and security. Similarly, your paper requires security. The security will be given through this referencing, right? If there is no referencing, which means that actually anyone can take from anybody, right? So in order to have that mutual understanding of securing our intellectual work, we agreed upon this, referencing. This is what actually principles of intellectual property, principle of access, principle of economy. Many people actually nowadays, of course, they are submitting their research paper with proper citation, and with the proper citation, the paper can go up to Scopus, up to WOS, Web of Science, right? ISI. So these are the thing, of course, brings promotion to the people. So it is also principle of economy, principle of standardization. We agree that, okay, this is what we call academic writing, right? So there are so many other types of writing. In Arabic also, we have a different kind of writing, different way of doing tahqiq or tadqiq, right? We also have hawashi, different way of doing. We actually started this. I had a image which I don't have right now. Previously, I usually show my students the image of proper citation and referencing. The image is actually usually back in India. I'm originally from India. When we actually read any tafsir or hadith or nahu or balagha, what we do actually, we bring that original book, the book that handwritten manuscript. So if you see the middle part of the manuscript is actually we call matan, mutun. It will be only few lines. Maybe in a whole page, you will see only 5 to 10 lines of matan. Then you will see there is a hawashi. Then again, there is another hawashi down there. In between two lines, you will see there are numbers. There are footnote numbers. It is all referring to the hawashi. It is all referring to the maraji or masadir. So in a way, this referencing, mashallah, Muslims, we are the one who invented it. Long ago, the Western European style. So we invented this and we followed this for many years. Our ulama, our salaf, they have already followed this style for so long. There are so many proof for this. So standardization, we want to bring this. Also principle of transparency. So now whether I respect someone or not, whether I like someone or not, whether I respect my colleague or not, I don't respect my colleague. But when it comes to referencing, I have to write his name or her name, in order to give what they call it, in order to give a credit to that work. It is worth it because they deserve to be told. They deserve to be cited because it is their work. So principle of transparency. So now this is where I have these three lines. This is what we call the golden rule of referencing. It is to give the reader enough information to help them easily and quickly. So just note this point: easily and quickly. Find the source that you have cited. So this is the first point. The proper referencing means it is to give your reader, al-qari', lazim, yani, he has to actually understand when he reads your paper. He has to get enough information easily and quickly. This particular information you gathered from what? From where? So he has to quickly see. It is possible by like what we do in two ways. Number one, it is an in-text citation, or it is a documentary citation, which we call footnote citing, right? So that is what easily and quickly. If they want to, the second line, the second sentence, if they want to look at your source and check it for themselves, could they find it easily with the information you have supplied? Because I cannot I cannot go and give lecture to every single qari. I cannot give explanation to every reader, because once I publish, it will become international, it will become global. Anyone from the world can read my paper, right? Whether it is in Arabic or in English. So now I cannot go and give explanation from where I got this. Instead, what I supposed to do, I properly follow the citation and referencing method, so that they can easily understand where it comes from. So there is a communication, there is a conversation between the reader and the writer. It happens behind the curtain. It is not happening like everybody know. It's happening. There is a kind of communication happening between the writer and the reader. That communication is actually what we call referencing. So why this referencing is very, very important? Because it will trace the origin of ideas, building a web of ideas, finding your own voice, validity of arguments, spreading knowledge and appreciation, influences, marking criteria, and finally, of course, to avoid plagiarism. So when I do this, so this is now, we are talking about academic writing. This is not something like, book writing, or novel writing, story writing. It is not about it. It is not about fiction writing, right? It is non-fiction writing, which means that we have to be intellectual to do this. Of course, we have to be, we have to use the inductive and deductive methods. We have to bring empirical methods, right? It has to be based on the epistemology of knowledge. So now when we do that, we actually we are bringing a statement, what we call a problem statement, and we are trying to address the issue in the first paragraph of our writing. We tell this is the introduction, but before we finish the introduction, we tell our reader the rest of the paper is going to talk about what, and based on what issue I am writing. Without the problem statement, my writing is just a literature review. That's what makes academic writing. It has to be based on an issue, right? A problem. So now this is my problem. I clearly, make my problem obvious to my reader. And then I also bring the references and citations to make sure that what I'm talking, it is not something that I myself imagining. It is not from my imagination. It is actually comes from the contemporary world. So I'm bringing the references, whether it is from media or from other sources like book, journals, some other websites, or from other, so many events are there. So now from there, actually, I want to bring my argument, right? That argument, in that argument, I want to validate my argument. I cannot simply validate my argument if I only talking my own view. Academic writing won't work that way. Not every one of us can become Imam al-Ghazali in our writing. So this is academic writing we are talking about. This is something that, what we say, it is a kind of a debate and fight between among the scholars. So I have to prove that this is the point, and these are the evidences for my point. And this is what I would like to propose. So I need to bring this. So now in order to validate my argument, I need to bring everybody's point of view. And then from there, I need to find the gap. And then I need to fulfill that gap, whereby I give the justification for my study. So all this can happen only if I properly follow the citation and referencing. So this is what actually the stages usually when we write a paper, or you write a chapter, or you write a dissertation. First stage is actually you state your point of view early in the assignment and presenting a clear and consistent rationale to support it. This is what I'm giving you. Just now I told you about the problem statement. You bring this, you present a clear evidence that this issue is available. This issue is actually existing. Then number two, you go to offer reliable evidence or illustrative example to support your argument. This is evidence that you have read in reputable and authoritative text, article, newspaper, internet site. So you go on, you're moving on, you talk about it. Okay, these issues already been discussed in many places. Then you need to also make sure that those evidences that you are talking about, you must yourself go through. It's not that somebody did, so I just follow him. No, in academic writing that won't work. You have to personally experience, which means you have to read yourself, go through those, showing where this evidence has come from by citing your sources and listing all your sources. This is number three, citing your sources and listing all your sources in the reference or bibliography section at the end of your assignment, right? Then when you do all these things, you are showing that you are aware of and have considered arguments that are counter to your own. You will need to summarize counter arguments in a clear, accurate, and undistorted way. So this is what we talk about, the chapter before the conclusion, or the paragraph before the conclusion in our academic writing. The chapter 1, chapter 2, usually what we do in Islamic economics or any other, social science studies, what we do is actually we start with introduction. In the introduction, we talk about this problem statement. We talk about the background of the study, then we talk about the problem statement, then we go into talk about the research objectives, then research questions, then significance of the study, justification of the study, right? We talk about the chapterization of this work or the sections in this work, if it is a journal paper. Then in the second part, we talk about the related literature review. All those work has been done in this particular topic. We list it down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we talk about the first thing, introduction, right? Al-Muqaddimah. The second thing, we will talk about the literature review, right? And then we are going to talk about the research methodology, al-manhaj al-bahth. So this manhaj, where we are going to tell, okay, you see, I found my problem, and this is my objectives, al-hadaf, and then this is my questions, al-as'ila, as'ilatul bahth, ahdaful bahth, right? And then I tell, these are my literature review, al-kutub wal maqalat. Now I'm coming back to tell, okay, all this I have right now. I'm going to make my own manhaj. Which manhaj? Because there are several manhaj, several research methodology in Islamic economics usually. So now you will find which one. Do you want to do the library research? Do you want to do the qualitative research? Do you want to do the quantitative research? Or you want to go for mixed research, right? So are you going to do with creating a model? For example, in Islamic economics, we start looking into, based on Islamic worldview, we will have a Islamic economic vision. Then based on the vision, we have to come up with Islamic economic theory, right? So now you have to build a model, or you have to build a framework whereby you can support your argument. Now this model, this framework should be tested. How do we do that? In Islamic economics, we will create the model, and then we will discuss with expertise. So we do interviews. There's another way of doing this. We will distribute into questionnaires. We will spread the questionnaires to as many as much possible the stakeholders, and then we get their input, their views and opinions, and then based on that we will make findings and analysis. Then we will discuss about the analysis. So now if you see all this, the chapter 1 introduction, chapter 2 literature review, chapter 3 research methodology. In Islamic economics, we also have a theoretical framework. We make it another 4th chapter. Meaning to say, the chapter before conclusion, which we call findings, analysis, or discussion, these are the only last chapter before the conclusion, only the chapter whereby you have to give your 100%. That is your own work. There is no way that we can copy that from someone. But intro, literature review, manhaj, research methodology, it is all actually coming from someone, definitely. But we cannot we cannot write those things without acknowledging, the proper, without acknowledging, without citing others. So that's why the paraphrasing is important. At the same time, we do paraphrasing, we also cite the authors. And then definitely the chapter before the conclusion, it has to be completely, so you will see less citations in the chapter before conclusion or in the paragraph before the conclusion if you are writing a journal paper. So finally, once you follow all these, you will be able to show why you have decided that the arguments you have chosen to advance are more convincing for you than others. So see, this is the point where actually we are doing academic writing. Otherwise, it will become a book writing. In academic writing, you mentioned a problem, you brought a problem, and you wanted to go through those things, and then you wanted to bring a model, and then your model is more convincing than others, then only your work will be accepted. That's what you are trying to do in your academic writing. All right. So 4 main sets of questions concerning references. Usually there are plenty of references you will get. You will go according to relevance, according to currency, means the current issue, accuracy, and coverage. Then there are few places you don't have to do references. For example, presenting historical views. You talk about some history, you don't have to bring, because people, they know history is clear. Those already accepted. Own experience, yeah, when you are making interview, you are asking somebody to give their experience. You don't need any references for that. When it comes to conclusion, when you repeat your ideas, yeah, in the conclusion, we don't have to use, because if we still use citations in reference, sorry, in conclusion, which means we are still writing, because conclusion must be something summarizing what we have done before. So you don't have to repeat the citation. You only repeat the idea in your conclusion. Then finally, summarizing what is regarded as common knowledge. Let's say if I say, for example, usually the first paragraph of any thesis, any journal paper will be, there won't be much, most of the time they're not necessarily, it has to have some citations because it is regarded as a common knowledge. For example, if I say education is one of the most influential factor to develop a country, everybody agree to that. Or you want to talk about sunrise in east, sunset in west, I think everybody agree to that. So common knowledge does not require any citation. So finally, this is the last part. Before I give you some examples, this is the last slide. This is actually to answer how to prevent plagiarism. So I give you two things you have to do if you want to prevent plagiarism in your writing. Number one, attempt to summarize. You read something, maybe you read 3 times, and then you will have idea in your mind, then you will try to summarize or restate another person's work, theories or ideas. And remember, when you summarize somebody's idea, still you have to acknowledge. You have to tell according to Ahmed 2007, then you give what Ahmed said. You don't exactly write what Ahmed wrote in his paper. According to Ahmed 2007, then you have to summarize what actually Ahmed said. That's what you are giving proper acknowledgement. At the same time, you are summarizing, which means you are paraphrasing. This is usually done by citing your sources and presenting a list of references. So you have to make sure you have to bring this in-text citation or footnote citation. At the end, bibliography also, you need to bring the citation. Number two is actually, if you want to keep exactly what Ahmed said, you don't want to paraphrase. You want to keep, for example, you want to say according to Ahmed 2007, and you want to write what Ahmed wrote in his paper, then you have to use the quotation mark at the beginning and also at the end. You have to make indenting, they call it, they call it indenting 2.5 centimeter or 1.2 centimeter left and right. So make look like it is not within your paragraph, it comes out from your paragraph, so that your reader will know these sentences not from your writing, it from some other people's writing. So by always using quotation marks or indenting lengthy quotations in your text to distinguish between the actual words of the writer and your own words. Once again, you should cite all sources and present full details of these in your list of references, right? So now you understood there is a summarization or paraphrasing. Then the another way is actually quotation marks. Again, there is a question, how many times I use the quotation mark? Again, it will be a question of your examiner or your lecturer. They won't allow you to do a lot of quotations. So most of the time they will ask you to do the paraphrasing rather than, quoting from someone. Quoting from someone can happen here and there. For example, Quranic verses. Definitely we have to quote from Quran. We cannot rewrite Quranic verses, right? Nauzubillah. We cannot also rewrite the translation. It has to be the same. Hadith also should be the same. Some other thing, for example, we have al-qawaid al-fiqhiyya. Of course, it has to be the same. There are so many other things. Even in the al-hukum al-ahkam, most of the things will be the same. Other than that, we can, so those things we can put in quotation mark. Make sure recite properly. So this is what you get from today's lecture, how to prevent plagiarism. You have this answer with you. So summarizing and paraphrasing. Finally, you have to do exercise. You have to do exercise. This is not one time you can do that. As long as you have this kind of thing while you are working on something, you just do not stop exercising, right? When you come up with the tamrinat, tartibat or tamrinat, so that you can actually bring this into next level. Okay, so if I may have a few more minutes, I can just show you some examples. Dr. Mahyuddin, how many minutes I have? Okay, if I have extra time, I can just continue with these examples. The examples of plagiarism, actually I have two types of examples. One is plagiarism in word for word. The other one is plagiarism in the second one is plagiarism in paraphrasing, right? So let's see the word for word. This is the word for word plagiarism, is one in which the writer directly quotes a passage or passages from an author's work without the use of proper quotation marks. So now I'm going to show you some illustrated examples whereby you actually can understand the original source material, and then you have plagiarized version, and then you have correct version, right? So the original source material, you can see that I will also show you, I'm planning to show one example from social science, and the other example I want to show you from Islamic economics and Sharia sciences. So this is the first example. You will see this original source. On top, you see technology has significantly transformed education at several major turning points in our history. So this original material comes from Frick, F-R-I-C-K, Frick 1991. The book name is Restructuring Education Through Technology. So now, when someone plagiarizing this, he will bring this. This is the red mark, is plagiarized version. If you see my cursor is moving, then on your right side, you have the correct version. In the plagiarized version, you don't see the name of Frick 1991. In the plagiarized version, you don't see the reference list. But in your right side, you are looking at the name of Frick 1991, and then you also see the reference list. So here you see, in examining technology, we have to remember that computers are not the first technology people have had to deal with. Frick 1991 believes that, see, this is how you bring the citation, Frick 1991. Then you start quotation mark, dot, 1, 2, 3. Then you bring his writing. So this is whatever you see after the quotation mark is taken from the original source. The first technology was the primitive modes of communication used by prehistoric people before the development of spoken language. So now these three lines taken from the original work, original source material. Now you see that the owner of this work is actually Frick 1991. So they mention, so the correct version says Frick 1991 believes that, which means referring to the author, and then bringing, since this is the word to word writing, there is no paraphrasing required at this stage. Maybe in the next one I will show you the paraphrasing, but this one bringing the same quoted materials. So you have this word freak 1991 believes that, then you have the sentence, then you have the page number P10 referring to the page number. So this is one of the most important thing you need to know, that whenever you quote from someone, make sure that you write the page number. This is the green color one. I hope you see the color. The green color one is actually the correct version. It is also, you can see in text citation. And then down there you see the references. It's actually the bibliography. This is how you write bibliography. So this is a very simple example for you to understand from original material how someone can plagiarize, how someone can properly do academic writing. Moving on to the second example. In second example, I'm bringing this source from Grind Fadila. The journal name is Empowering Muslim Women Through Executive Coaching and Mentoring. So this is what from the original writing. Allah says, and by the soul, and he who proportioned it and inspired it with a discernment of its wickedness and righteousness. Yeah. So now, now this is from Surah Al-Shams, وَشَمْسِ وَضُحَاهَا. And she says in her writing, neither psychology nor spiritual coaching books, which are widespread in Western bookstores, provide a clear process for self-purification and progress as the Holy Quran and Sunnah did. That is, the Quran is a continuous daily reminder which washes away the accumulated dust, sins of the day and night with pardon and forgiveness. This is one of the Islamic economic writing. Now, if someone wants to, wants to plagiarize, he wanted to tell this, the Holy Quran and the Sunnah provide a clear process for self-purification and progress, which is completely, exactly taken from this original source. But you notice the person who plagiarized did not mention the author name in text citation. He only mentioned in the bibliography citation. That is not enough. It has to be mentioned in text citation. Now look at the correct version. The correct version says Muslim women are given access and opportunity to acquire religious knowledge to empower themselves in the same way. You see here the Holy Quran and Sunnah. Then you have 3 dots. You have the quotation mark. Why? Because whatever comes after the quotation marks, it belongs to the original source material. It belongs to Grind Fadila. So now here you have the word provide a clear process for self-purification and progress as the Holy Quran and Sunnah did. That is, the Quran is a continuous. So this is exactly from there. You finish the quotation mark and then you write Grind 2014, page number 60, because this is taken from page number 60. The original source is actually coming page number 54 to 68. So you are referring to page number 60. Okay, now what exactly the difference between this example and the previous example? There's one difference. In previous example, you see, we call it narrative citation, which means you write the author name first. Like in this, look at the third line, Frick 1991 believes that. So we bring this narrative citation. So we bring the author date, author name and date first, and then we bring the idea second, and then we bring the page number. In the next example, you bring the idea first. You see the Holy Quran and Sunnah practice, quotation mark. You bring the idea first, and then you bring the citation at the end. So when you bring the citation at the end, you write the author name and the year of the publication, then you write the page number. This style, we call it parenthetical citation. So again, the previous example is a narrative citation. The second example is actually parenthetical citation. So now similarly, we have more examples. You can see here, similarly, the thing that, Frick 1991 states that, again, the you can see here, you can see all the quotation marks, the page number. But in the plagiarized version, there is no quotation mark, even though there is a citation, but there is no page number and quotation mark. All right, the next example, again here, totally in the plagiarized version, there is no name, there is no page number. In the correct version, there is a name according to Gredler 2001. You also have the page number. Example, yeah. Then you have also plagiarism in paraphrasing. Again, this one, plagiarism in paraphrasing, which means look at the original source material. The original source material talk about the key ingredients are: number one, inducing a response; number two, reinforcing subtle improvements or refinement in the behavior. So there is 1, 2, 3, 4. So now when you paraphrase, you don't write this 1, 2, 3, 4. You only write the summary of this 1, 2, 3, 4. But in plagiarized version, there is a mistake, because in that citation, the author did not write the author name, the original author name. That's why it is plagiarized. In the correct version, even though it is not exactly the same sentence as is being mentioned in original source material, it's been paraphrased or it's been summarized, still in the correct version, the author has given appropriate original author name. So it is according to Gredler 2001. So it became correct version. Similarly, in the next example, again the same example. Now you can see on your right side, correct version, the word has changed. Look, in the original, Holy Quran is a continuous daily reminder which washes away the accumulated dust. But here you see, the Quran gives constant reminder on the need to wash away the accumulated sins of the day and night with forgiveness and pardon. So this is how you change the word. The Holy Quran and Sunnah provide a clear path or way for self-actualization and prosperity. In the original, it was self-purification and progress. So this is, again, it is a paraphrasing method. You can do this paraphrasing or summarization, but again, remember, you have to write the author name even though you paraphrase. That's how you prevent plagiarism in academic writing. Then you have another example, number 3. There are a lot. You see, this is original material. You can see that there are so many bullets and dots. So, but you read all these and then you summarize like this. When you summarize it, make sure you follow the correct version. You write the author name. Similarly, you write the author name. Again, the difference between this is called narrative citation, because start from 1997. Here it is actually what we call it, parenthetical citation. All right. So another example again for parenthetical citation. So you make sure you write the idea from this material, but at the end you make sure you write you write the author name. But if you look in this paraphrasing and summarizing, you will not find any page number. So you have to cite page number only when you are referring to a quoted material, exactly the same material. If you are paraphrasing, you don't have to write the page number. I think if you learn all this, I think this is how you prevent plagiarism. So finally, once we practice all this slowly, one by one, there is a possibility that our academic writing will be improved. And definitely this academic writing, it is something that actually give us it's like we are contributing into something. It is like we want our ideas, we want our thought should be should be out, should be should be shown to everybody. This is what we really want. in order to do that, we have to follow the standard. Once we follow the standard, of course, we bring betterment and excellence in our work. Wabillahi tawfiq, with Allah's grace, inshallah, our work will be accepted, and then definitely we can do better in our life. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you very much for this opportunity. That's all from me.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mohamed Aslam Akbar, mashallah. We really thank you very much for your wonderful presentation and this explanation. We really benefited from your presentation and explanation. So, Alhamdulillah, we already learned about plagiarism, forms and types, and then referencing rules and examples, and reasons why people plagiarize, and as well types of plagiarism. I'm not going to say in details because it's already in the slides in the our PowerPoint, and I believe that all participants got the slides. And at the end also learn references and how to cite and principles of referencing, why the reference is very important, and how to prevent plagiarism, examples of citation and plagiarism. These are the things, alhamdulillah, were very beneficial for us and for researchers, especially students. Doctor, I think there is a few questions, but we take maybe one or two questions as we are out of time. We are running out of time. So there is someone who asks if anybody plagiarize from any other language, example from Urdu or from maybe any other language to English or to Arabic. How will a supervisor know that this is information taken from others without any referencing it?
All right. Before I answer the question, I just want to know whether the question comes from a student or from a lecturer.
I think this is someone
because you need to understand if it is comes from student, it's a tricky question.
Between original quotation,
if it is,
I think this is someone Ustad Yani.
Okay, then I hope it is from Ustaz. It is from the lecturer because
maybe he want to evaluate.
Okay, we make a benefit of doubt. We make it. Okay, we understand the question comes from the lecturer, of course, because we have that challenge. Every one of us, as a lecturer, I always have this challenge how to do this because most of the time we don't have this from English to English or from Arabic to Arabic. So someone who might come from different world, there is a possibility, someone might, translate. But let me also tell you this. I think there's a good news for those lecturers like me, like the one who asked. Now there is a software which we use in our university, which is a Turn 18. I think everywhere they use this. The Turn 18 comes with translation, which means that if it's been translated from any language, as long as that materials are available online, those things actually can be detected. The software will detect and will tell that, okay, this particular passage come from this particular website, from this particular language. So that's a good news for the lecturer. But at the same time, for the student, I would like to tell, you need to know that your lecturer, your supervisor, your examiner, they are the expert in the field. So when you are saying something which is actually totally new or something which is better or good, of course, the lecturer will go back and try to, find the original author. So if they come to know, then it will be a problem for all of us, because that there is a act that every university really trying to get. But of course, expertise actually will make us. For example, when I read my students' work, in English or in Arabic, of course, I can easily understand, if it is plagiarized, because you know that the top of the English will be American, down will be Australian or UK. so so that kind of thing. So we tell our student, even though you make mistake, do it on your own. Not necessary to copy from someone. Try to paraphrase. I think expertise will tell you whether the student has plagiarized or not.
Thank you again, Doctor. So I think it's very important discussion for especially students and researchers. So I probably believe that we can have any workshop, maybe with Dr. Aslam, inshallah, under the umbrella of our Nadil Iqtisad al-Islami in very soon, and
Okay.
we will discuss with you, inshallah, very soon, how to conduct few workshops, maybe how to choose a topic of research or master's topic or PhD thesis topic, example, how to write a proposal of the research, and like this field, inshallah, we will choose some topics and we can design a workshop on that, inshallah, in future. So we thank all participants and online guests from around the world. I think more than 160 today, as well as in YouTube channel. So we thank you very much for your participation and attendance. And we thank our management board and especially Dr. Alal Ubaid, our Director General, and all the scholars and board members in NADI and the staffs. We thank you very much for your effort and for your khidmah and services. And we thank especially our guest speaker today, Dr. Mohamed Aslam Akbar, for your time, for your effort, and for your this very brilliant and wonderful presentation. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you and accept these activities and these efforts. And we would like to hear from Dr. Aslam as your concluding remarks. Uh, yes, please.
Yes. So what I wanted to tell actually is a great experience. Of course, as I told earlier, of course, we know Dr. Muhyiddin for so long, and Alhamdulillah, I came to know about this Nadi al-Iqtisadi al-Islami, especially coming from Islamic University in Malaysia and working in the Department of Economics. It is of course a quite interesting platform to know each other, especially this Nadi, so that we can collaborate, in future.
Inshallah.
We
Yeah.
can have an MOU and all, mashallah. Of course, you are here. Of course, we can do a lot of things. And also, I would like to thank everyone, everyone from this, the Mudir of this Nadi, and also all the directors and all those stakeholders of this, especially coming from Kuwait and also Bangladesh and then Malaysia as well. And thank you very much for making this an international webinar. Hope to see more. Jazakumullah khair. Barakallah fikum.
Great.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Dr. Aslam, just for your information, we are going to organize an international conference, Mu'tamar Duwali Anil Maliya al-Islamiyya, maybe in April of this month, inshallah,
2022. Yeah.
this year, next year in April. So you may discuss with your department so that you can collaborate in this international conference with the Department of Economics,
All right.
Jamia Islamia Al-Alami Malaysia, and with our Nadil Iqtisad Islami under the Kuwait University.
Yes.
And inshallah, we are working on that and we'll update you on that.
Inshallah. We'll do that. That's a very good, interesting news. We will do that, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you very much again, and thank you all. With that, we conclude today's session here. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.